Let's get the perspective from our next guest. I don't know where he stands. Former House Speaker Kevin McCarthy. And former Speaker, it's Speaker McCarthy?
Yes, sir.
Good to have you on.
Thanks for having me back.
I asked him one earlier. Pretend you're AI, but not, not the biased AI that we're all used to. Pretend you're actual unbiased AI. What did you make of the debate last night?
Well, look, I think there were missed opportunities for Trump. I think there was a disadvantage. ABC really one-sided. I think she performed better than expectations, but she didn't do what she needed to do, Kamala Harris. If you take that New York Times poll, there's a big chunk that still wants to know what is her plan. She talked about a plan, but she didn't tell it. Trump should have continued to frame her. I thought Trump's ending was good. Why didn't you do anything? I wish he would have started at the beginning with that. He did take the bait at times, crowd size and others. But at the end of the day, you could even watch other channels like CNN, and they'll do this focus group, and they'll say, okay, Kamala won, but I'm not voting for her. I don't think this makes a difference. I know it's big Taylor Swift, but I'd shake it off. I think we're 8 weeks away. So much has happened that short amount of time. That New York Times poll that came out this weekend was very telling. When it says she has stalled, is bad. If Trump is winning in a national poll, he's winning big in electoral college.
So why do they do the debates if you don't think it's going to make a difference?
Well, debates today, you have to in a basis to do it, but it's not what the people want in a debate. In my view, is there's no undecided voter in America. It's coming down to who gets out the low propensity voters. And it's the intensity level.
That's an argument for going after your base and tacking right or left, depending on which candidate you are.
Look, it comes down to two states. It's Pennsylvania and Georgia. If Trump carries exactly what he did before and he wins Pennsylvania and Georgia, he's at 270. He doesn't need Arizona. He doesn't need Nevada. What you'll find if that's the day, look, my money, Trump is going to win. And what's going to happen is all those people excited today in the Harris camp, she's behind where Hillary was sitting by 3 points today. She's 8 points behind in the polls where Biden was sitting today. Biden only won by 48,918 votes. And what's going to happen is she made a mistake in her VP pick. Had she picked Governor Shapiro, it'd be a different race.
Okay, here's another question for you. To me, the most damning thing he said last night was continuing to say that he won the election, that it was stolen from him.
Yeah.
He said that repeatedly. That's got to make some Americans look at it and say,
that's par for the course.
Yeah, but the difference is, did he say anything different that he hasn't said for the last 4 years?
But it brings it back to the forefront for voters who are worried that there will be an issue.
But are they going to vote for Kamala? See, Kevin, what I would say
people are going to make a decision when they go to the grocery store and it costs more. People are going to, what he should have done, and he should say about Kamala every time, it's more of the same. Now, I think the Democrats have done very well about trying to distance her from Biden, but that is where the commentating, she literally had said to that same ABC reporter that she was going to confiscate guns and use the executive order to do it, and no one went back at her.
The Kamala Harris of a month ago that no one knew anything about, the same Democratic voters, they're just as enthusiastic now as they were a month ago. It has nothing to do. They were going to be with her all along. So I'm wondering, who did she convert? I'm not sure there's anyone left to convert.
They were going to be with her, but Biden.
Anybody but Biden. It doesn't matter. Will there be another debate?
No.
There will not be another debate.
That's my... Look, I'm not running the campaign. I don't think either of them want another debate. Kamala feels she did what she needed to do. She doesn't want to make another mistake. I don't think it's going to change the outcome.
For Trump, if he can't control himself where he gets so aggrieved all the time and goes into the grievance, he had so many opportunities, and I think he went in there with the notion, I am going to highlight her record and what happened, but then he didn't
okay, but let's not overthink it. This is like you had a wedding and it didn't go exactly as you wanted, but no one else really knows it. Trump controlled...
I think other people know this.
Yeah, but Trump controlled himself more than normal. Okay?
I don't think that's an argument that's going to make people feel good about
from that point of view, did he miss opportunities? What she did well, I would say, she would avoid answering the question, then pivot to something and talk about the crowd size or talk about Wharton.
And then jumped right on it.
Then he would jump on it.
One of those.
He should just avoid that.
But that doesn't... what does that tell you about his ability to... one of the commentators afterwards made a comment about, it maybe men are just too emotional to be president.
No, not at all. Look, simply put, did Trump make the tough decisions when it came to Soleimani? Did Trump make the tough decisions that Putin never invaded another country? Did Trump make the tough decisions to secure our border? That's what people are going to look at. That's what people are going to make decisions about.